What's up everybody? Welcome to the video. I'm super excited about this one. It's all about our most recent accomplishment, Ironman Cozumel. So when I say our, I mean the four amazing dudes that competed with me and crushed all of our races. And of course, my family, my friends, my coaches, and our support team, again, of family and friends, who traveled with us and bared the burden of traveling and training and all the stresses that go along with it. So I couldn't have done it without their support. And if you're watching and you're one of those people, without your support. So thank you all very much. Take a seat and listen to what happened on our Ironman. All right, y'all, we're on a mission to get out some K-Pods with Minnie Mouse and the support team. So the Ironman was the hardest single day event that I've ever done. And that's because I've always been a sprinter. I've lifted heavy weights, I've done short sprints. I've never really run more than a mile other than once or twice just because I was feeling good. And to be honest, I didn't know if I'd be able to finish when I started. I could barely swim. I didn't even think it was possible to do 2 miles in a pool where I could stand up, much less 2.5 miles in the open ocean. So it was pretty terrifying. And for those of you that don't know what it is, a full distance Ironman or an iron distance triathlon is 140.6 miles. So that's a 2.4 mile open ocean swim, a 112 mile bicycle ride, and then a 26.2 mile marathon running off at the end. And that's all back to back. Typically people finish between 12 and 16 hours. So there's people that have done it way faster, there's people that have gone way further, and there's people that have done way more Ironmans back to back than the one that I did. So why did I do the Ironman? So there's really two reasons why I did this. One, to conquer some fears that I have, and two, to see what I'm actually capable of. Now don't get me wrong, I'm still afraid of the open ocean. Like, one of my biggest fears is being stuck out in the middle of the ocean and being stranded out there with all the shit that lives out there. But I'm definitely gonna head back and scuba dive and free dive and all these cool things, because I think that having fear run your life is detrimental to living a cool life. Going back to that second point, seeing what's actually possible. I think people, including myself, do two things. They say, I could do that, but why would I? And then you build up all these things that you could see yourself doing, but you never actually do them. So don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things that I will never do, but once in a while I think it's important to expand your comfort zone and actually accomplish something you can see yourself doing. And the second thing is, why do that? Because I could never be a world champion. So if you take a sport or rock climbing or any other large accomplishment, there's always going to be somebody better. But for me, not being able to be the best is a deterrent from doing something And the problem with that is that you never do anything. So you actually prevent yourself from finding something that you might love and possibly even be the best at. So push your comfort zone, go find something cool and live an awesome life. Here's a little race day recap. Now, before the race, I'd never done an endurance race before. I'd never really run about more than 10 miles. So of course I decided to do one of the hardest endurance races there are. And I don't recommend training for less than 6 months, especially if you're like me, going from the squat rack to a full distance Ironman. Now, my first week of training, I'd never done a triathlon either, so I did a sprint try here in downtown Austin, and I thought I was gonna die. It was like a 500-meter swim in Lake Austin, super short, and I was like, there's no way. I got out of the water like I just deadlifted 500 pounds or something. So I joined the Austin Tri team, and it's an awesome group here in Austin of both athletes and coaches that compete every year, from everything to sprint triathlons to full distance Ironmans on a regular basis, and that completely accelerated my training. So I had some technical training, I had people with experience, I met some people that even let me borrow equipment. And if you're gonna do this, you should definitely find some people that have some experience and will push you and teach you and coach you along the way. So traveling to Mexico, I imagine traveling anywhere, was a complete disaster with all of the stuff that we had. Like, it was probably a 12-hour day of traveling. So we're carrying the bike, we're carrying 10 days worth of clothes because we were there for about 2 weeks, a little less. We get everything to the airport, decided to drive because I've got my truck, and we could haul a few bikes that way. So we get to the airport, check everything in, which of course takes forever, and then get on our flight. So we're almost to our gate, checked in, we got the bikes on the plane. That was kind of a hassle, it was really busy. Once we get to Mexico, of course I didn't brush up on my Spanish. Even though I have a minor in Spanish, it made me almost completely useless. But we get there, we finally find our bags, not being able to speak any Spanish, and it's pouring rain. Land in Cancun, Mexico, take a taxi to Cozumel's ferry, and then have an hour ferry from Cancun to Cozumel. And the whole time, it's flooding, it's crazy, people are like freaking out. It was a hell of an experience. The next morning, after we'd laid out all our clothes that were completely soaked, the sun was out and we woke up in absolute paradise. So waking up in paradise, we have this dock right off the back of our Airbnb where you can just jump into the water. And from Thursday to Saturday, we got at least one session in on everything. So about a 1,000-meter swim, again, right off the dock. It was awesome. We did a little bike session and one run. It's right before the race. So getting to the race was a total mess. And I'll do an overview with just some tips on your first Ironman race or your first triathlon if you're gonna do one. But there's a lot to plan for. And the longer the race is, the more you have to plan, because especially with the Ironman, you have to drop off everything a day or two before, which is good because you don't have to think about all of that. All right, so we just fucking biked a 10K, 15K through a flood, dropped my bike here in the village and the transition. Now we're gonna go all the way back. Do it 2 more times for Carlos and Nate. But it's pretty dope. We're out here in the jungle. We're all pros.
My name's gotta be somewhere.
Looking for Nate's name. We were headed to Velvet Taco, but there was an hour wait for some tacos. So we're gonna go to Old Faithful Chipotle. But back to the race. The morning of was also, as Danny says, a clusterfuck. Our transitions were like 6 miles apart. So the girls came down with us. There's like 2,000 people that need to get on independently owned buses, like tour buses and things. And those tour buses have to take us from where we get on our bike in transition 1 to the swim start, which is 2.5 miles north of the swim start. So we wait in line, we've got all our clothes on, and then we get this bag to where we can put our clothes in for the morning, and we just throw it on a bus that they deliver, where they deliver the bag later. But then we're left in our swimsuits, like half naked in probably 50-degree weather, coldest it was the whole time, and it's sprinkling. So we split off into our groups, start the race, and it was amazing. It was one of the coolest, also most terrible experiences I've ever had. I ended up having the fastest swim I've ever had, not only in terms of the long swims, the distance swims, but also sprints. So I was able to do that swim in under an hour when I was planning for about an hour and 10 minutes. So that was awesome. Getting out of the water and onto the bike, it was a little slick. It rained the whole time on the bike. So the good thing about that was it was nice and cool. Like, we didn't have to worry about overheating, over sweating, all that stuff. But we had to pedal through the rain. So there were points where we're pedaling through like 3 or 4 feet of rain for 112 miles. Finally get to the end, no flats, no issues. And then shout out to Anthony, who let me borrow his entry-level $5,000 Cervelo bike. And then we started the marathon. So I'd never run a marathon before. I'd never done any endurance racing. And I'm about to do my first marathon after 114.4 miles. Then it started to get hot. So it was raining when we started. The girls were kicking it at the Airbnb, which was kind of cool because we could see them. But we were soaking wet. So now we're running on wet shoes, which just added a lot of friction. And it started to get hot. So we're sweating more, we're having to adjust our sodium levels and all that stuff. All in all, it was an amazing race. I was able to finish in 11 hours and 39 minutes, which was 20 minutes faster than my goal of 12 hours. Met Danny at the finish line, slammed a cheeseburger that she picked up for me, met up with the rest of the team, and then tried to get some sleep. So, of course, I didn't sleep that night. My legs were wrecked, but just the whole experience was amazing. It was, like, every memory was awesome, and I wouldn't change anything about the race because it was as flawless as I think it could have been for a 12-hour race. All in all, the race was amazing. Like I said, it was incredibly painful. It was an incredible battle, but we all had an amazing time. And I think we all agree that we won't be doing another one for a very long time. Some of us, if ever. The next morning we got up and just enjoyed the day. We went down to the south end of Cozumel where there's some pretty quiet, empty beaches, and had some fresh made pina coladas with raw coconuts that were just right there on the trees. What's up, y'all? We're one day post Ironman. My legs are about 75%. They work, mostly. I was able to get up and down the stairs. And now that we're done, I'll do a whole video on the Ironman. It was a hell of an experience. It was amazing. It was terrible. It was painful. And everybody that likes doing that stuff, you guys are all crazy that you do it over and over and over. But it was awesome. And I'll do a whole video on that, but today, the support team gets to choose what we do. So we're gonna go down, we got to ride half of the island of Cozumel. There's about a 40-mile loop, and the south side of the island is all just like open beach. It's beautiful. So we're gonna go down there. There's a couple dive bars that Nathan wants to go to, so
So we're gonna go see some stingrays, see some beautiful beach, not be on a bicycle or on our feet, and actually enjoy being a tourist for a day. All right, so we're down on the south side of the island, down where we rode.
That shit's fire.
With the crew. Danny's down there. I'm in a hammock and it's awesome. We got fresh pina coladas.
Huh? No, I just
Coconuts are right here. They just pull them down from the trees and makes pina coladas.
Pina is pineapple.
And pina is pineapple. I don't think they have fresh pineapple, but
Super good.
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's whiter sand than in Australia.
Wider sand than in Australia. We'll go down there in a sec. I'm enjoying the hammock. I'm enjoying the hammock. We'll go for a little swim, maybe.
He was a cool guy.
This is
I wonder
amazing.
what happened. I wonder if
That's all.
I know.
All right, y'all. If you go to an exotic island, you gotta go to the quiet parts, to the secret beaches, where there's no tourists and it's just beautiful, because then you get beautiful white sands, and you get really good fresh food, and it's cheap. I don't know how the audio is, but it's beautiful out here. We got to swim and the ocean's so clear. I mean, we could see like 50, 60 feet straight down. Now I'm wet, but it's amazing. So if you're interested in seeing what I have planned next, subscribe, like this video, and share it, because the next one, I'll be announcing my next challenge. I think it'll be pretty exciting. I've got some big stuff coming. Never Rest has some big stuff coming. If you're interested in following, go to neverrest.com. Again, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, and shop on the website, our Keep Battling gear. If you take nothing away from this, just take away the idea that you should push yourself a little bit, conquer your fears, and just live a really epic life. So thanks for watching, y'all. As always, keep battling, never rest.